The restaurant was empty except for me. In 12 hours, they'd arrive for the signing. The manila folders sat on the booth table in front of me, next to my cold cup of coffee. Through the window, I could see the neon sign flickering. Rossetti's Family Italian. 42 years my family had owned this place. By tomorrow afternoon, according to the papers they thought I'd sign, it would belong to them. I opened the folder again. Not the one they'd given me. The one I'd been building for the past 6 months. My daughter Emily's signature appeared 17 times in these documents. Each one a little different from the last. I taught her to write her name when she was 5, carefully guiding her small hand across the paper at this very table during slow Tuesday afternoons. Now I was looking at her signature on LLC formation documents, loan applications, and a lease agreement for a commercial property in Phoenix. Phoenix. That's where she'd told me she was going to start fresh with Marcus, her boyfriend of 8 months. The man who was, according to her, a consultant for restaurant chains looking to expand. I'd been an accountant for 37 years before I retired. 15 of those years I spent as a forensic accountant for the IRS. I knew what real financial documents looked like. I knew what fake ones looked like too. The documents in front of me were excellent forgeries. Almost perfect. But there were tells. The kind of tells only someone who'd spent decades looking at numbers would catch. A decimal point in the wrong place. A tax ID that was 1 digit off from legitimate. A notary stamp that was discontinued in Arizona 3 years ago. Marcus had made a mistake. He'd assumed that a 63-year-old man who'd spent the last 2 years flipping burgers and making pasta was too tired, too trusting, or too stupid to check. He was wrong on all 3 counts. My phone buzzed. A text from Emily. Dad, we'll be there at 10 a.m. tomorrow. Make sure you have everything ready. I'm so excited about this new chapter. Marcus says the buyers are offering such a good price. You can finally rest. Love you. I stared at that message for a long moment. Love you. I remembered when she used to mean that. Before Marcus. Before the lies started, 6 months ago, Emily had come to me with concern in her eyes. She'd sat in this same booth and held my hand across the table. Dad, you look tired, she'd said. This place is too much for you now. What if something happened? What if you had a heart attack back there in the kitchen? I'd laughed it off. Told her I was fine. 70-hour weeks had been my normal for decades. This was nothing. But she'd persisted. Week after week. Dad, you should sell. Retire properly. Travel. Rest. Then Marcus had appeared at Sunday dinner. Tall, handsome, confident, 34 years old with a smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. He talked about restaurant valuations, market trends, investment opportunities. He talked about how much he admired what I'd built. Sir, he'd said, shaking my hand too firmly, I have connections with buyers. People who respect legacy. They'd keep the name, keep the recipes. Everything you've built would continue. That's when I'd started digging. The first thing I found was that Marcus Holloway didn't exist before 2019. No college records, no employment history, no credit before that year. That was red flag number 1. The second thing I found was an LLC registered in Phoenix under the name Rossetti's Southwest. The registered agent was Emily Rossetti, my daughter. Filed 3 months ago. The third thing was a loan application to a commercial real estate lender. $3.2 million. Collateral listed, family restaurant property and business assets. Signed by me. Except I'd never signed it. That signature wasn't even a good forgery. My real signature had a specific loop in the R that this one lacked. I'd made copies of everything. Sent them to a lawyer friend. Got them notarized. Built a case. And then I'd waited. Because I needed to know how far Emily would go. How deep the betrayal ran. Whether my daughter, my only child, my baby girl who I'd raised alone after her mother died, whether she would actually go through with this. I'd hoped she'd stop. I'd hoped she'd come to her senses. That maybe Marcus was manipulating her. That she'd wake up one morning and realize what she was doing. But the text kept coming. The pressure kept building. And I kept finding more documents. More lies. More proof that this wasn't just Marcus. This was both of them. 2 weeks ago, I'd hired a private investigator. Not because I needed more proof of the fraud. I had plenty. But because I wanted to know who Marcus really was. The report came back yesterday. His real name was Michael Reston. He was 41, not 34. He had 2 previous identities. 2 previous relationships with women who had family businesses. One in Colorado. One in Nevada. Both times, he'd convinced them to transfer assets, take out loans, restructure ownership. Both times, the businesses had ended up bankrupt and the women had ended up broke. Both times, he disappeared before the lawsuits could find him. Emily didn't know any of this. She thought he loved her. She thought they were building a future together. She thought the Phoenix restaurant was their dream. She didn't know that the Phoenix property didn't exist. The address on the lease was a vacant lot. The landlord was a shell company. The whole thing was smoke and mirrors. And tomorrow morning, she was going to ask me to sign papers that would transfer everything I'd built to that shell company. She was going to watch me sign away my life's work. And then she was going to leave. At least that's what she thought was going to happen. I closed the folder and looked around the restaurant. The booth where I'd taught Emily to count change. The kitchen where she'd learned to make marinara from her grandmother's recipe. The wall of photos showing 42 years of family dinners, first communions, graduation parties, and birthday celebrations. I'd built this place for her. Every 70-hour week. Every missed vacation. Every early morning and late night. It was always supposed to be hers. And tomorrow, I was going to show her what happens when you try to steal from a forensic accountant. My phone rang. Unknown number. I answered. Mr. Rossetti? A woman's voice. Professional. Clipped. This is Detective Sarah Chen from the Financial Crimes Unit. I received the documents you sent to the DA's office. We'd like to discuss next steps. I'd filed the report 3 days ago. Sent them everything. Every forged document. Every fake signature. Every piece of evidence I'd collected. Thank you for calling, Detective. I said. Will you be able to send officers tomorrow morning? We'll have 2 detectives there by 9:45. The DA wants to be present as well. This is a significant case, Mr. Rossetti. The evidence you've compiled is extensive. I was an accountant for 37 years, I said, 15 of those with the IRS. I know how to build a case. That's clear. A pause. Mr. Rossetti, I have to ask. Are you certain you want to proceed? This is your daughter. I looked at the photo on the wall nearest to me. Emily at age 7, covered in flour, grinning at the camera. We'd been making pizza dough. She'd said she wanted to be a chef like her dad. I'm certain, I said. She needs to face consequences. And there are other victims. Women in Colorado and Nevada. If I don't stop this, Marcus will do it again. We've already been in contact with those jurisdictions. They're very interested in Mr. Reston. Another pause. This is going to be hard, sir. Watching your daughter get arrested. It's already hard, Detective. But maybe jail will wake her up. Maybe she'll realize what she's done. And maybe she'll get the help she needs. All right. We'll see you tomorrow at 9:45. Don't let them know anything is wrong. I hung up and sat in the silence of the empty restaurant. The air conditioning hummed. A car passed outside. The neon sign flickered again. I thought about calling Emily, warning her, giving her one last chance to back out. But I knew it wouldn't work. She'd made her choice. And tomorrow, she'd have to live with it. I finished my cold coffee and stood up. Locked the folder in the office safe. Turned off the lights. Set the alarm. Walked to my car. Tomorrow would be the hardest day of my life. But it was necessary. Because I'd raised Emily to know right from wrong. To understand that actions have consequences. To respect other people and their hard work. And if she'd forgotten those lessons, then it was my job as her father to remind her. Even if it broke both our hearts. The morning came too quickly. I arrived at the restaurant at 8, made a fresh pot of coffee, arranged the booth table, placed the folder they'd given me on the surface, left my own folder locked in the safe. At 9:45, Detective Chen arrived with her partner, Detective James Brooks. A woman in a business suit followed them. Assistant District Attorney Michelle Cardenas. Mr. Rossetti, Detective Chen said, shaking my hand. We're going to wait in the kitchen. Out of sight. When they present the documents, try to get them to explain the plan out loud. We need them to commit to the fraud verbally. I understand. The ADA spoke. Mr. Rossetti, once we arrest them, this process will move quickly. Your daughter will be charged with fraud, forgery, and conspiracy. The bail will likely be set high given the flight risk. Are you prepared for that? Was I prepared to watch my daughter get handcuffed? To see her taken away in a police car? To know that she'd spend tonight in a jail cell? No. I'd never be prepared for that. But I nodded anyway. They moved to the kitchen, positioning themselves where they could see and hear but remain hidden. At 9:58, I saw Marcus's car pull into the parking lot. A black Audi. Leased, I discovered. Not owned. He drove everything in his life on credit that would eventually default. Emily got out of the passenger side. She wore a blue dress. Her hair was pulled back. She looked happy, excited. My heart broke a little more. They walked in together. Marcus carried a leather briefcase. Emily carried her purse and a bottle of champagne. Dad, She hugged me. She felt so small in my arms. Still, my little girl, even at 31. Are you ready? This is so exciting. Hi, sir. Marcus shook my hand. That same too-firm grip. Big day. Life-changing day. We sat in the booth. Emily on one side next to Marcus. Me on the other, alone. Marcus opened his briefcase and pulled out a stack of papers. Okay, Mr. Rossetti, I've got all the documents here. The buyers are ready to transfer funds today. 3.8 million. That's well above market value for this property. They really value the legacy. I looked at the papers. At the signatures, they wanted me to add to the forgeries they'd already created. Walk me through this, I said. I want to understand exactly what I'm signing. Marcus smiled. Of course. This first document transfers the property deed to Rosco Holdings. That's the buyer's company. This second one transfers the business license and all assets. This third one. He kept talking, explaining each fraudulent document, each step of the plan. Emily watched him with admiration in her eyes. I watched her watching him and wondered when I'd lost her. And the money? I asked. When does that transfer? The moment you sign, the funds will be wired to your account. Well, technically to the business account. But then we'll transfer it to your personal account. All 3.8 million. Except, I said slowly, the business account that's listed here isn't my business account. This routing number is for a bank in Phoenix. And this account number doesn't match anything I have on file. Marcus's smile didn't waver. That's the new account we set up for the transaction. Easier for tax purposes. Tax purposes. I nodded. And who has access to this account? The LLC that's managing the transition. It's all here in the paperwork. The LLC registered in Phoenix 3 months ago. Rossetti's Southwest. Is that the one? Emily's smile faltered. Dad, how did you? I'm an accountant, sweetie. Was an accountant. Old habits die hard. I looked at Marcus. So let me see if I understand. I signed these papers. The deed and business assets transferred to Rosco Holdings, which is a shell company that you control. The money gets wired to an account in Phoenix that you have access to. And then, what? You transfer some of it to me? Maybe, probably not. Marcus's face hardened. Mr. Rossetti, I don't appreciate the accusation. Michael. He froze. Sorry. Marcus. Or should I call you by your real name? Michael Reston, age 41? Previously went by Marcus Holloway in Nevada and Mike Richardson in Colorado? Emily's face went pale. Dad, what are you talking about? Your boyfriend has done this before, honey. Twice. Found women with family businesses. Convinced them to trust him. Forged documents, transferred assets. Bankrupted the businesses. Disappeared with the money. I pulled out my phone. Opened the photos. Slid it across to her. That's him in Colorado with Jennifer Martinez. That's him in Nevada with Susan Chen. Both times, same pattern. Both times, he vanished before the lawsuits could catch him. Marcus stood up. We're leaving. No, I said. You're not. Detective Chen and Detective Brooks stepped out of the kitchen. The ADA followed. Michael Reston. Detective Chen said. You're under arrest for fraud, forgery, and conspiracy. Emily Rossetti. You're also under arrest for the same charges. Emily's eyes went wide. Dad? Dad, what is this? Marcus bolted for the door. Detective Brooks was faster. Had him on the ground in seconds. Handcuffs clicked. Emily started crying. Dad, please, I didn't know. I thought we were helping you. I thought. Detective Chen cuffed her gently. You have the right to remain silent. I watched as they read her rights. Watched as they led her toward the door. She looked back at me, mascara running down her face. Daddy, please? She hadn't called me daddy since she was 12. I wanted to run to her. To hold her. To tell her everything would be okay. But I stayed in the booth. Because everything was not okay. And she needed to learn that. The ADA sat down across from me as they took Emily and Marcus outside. That was harder than you expected, she said. It wasn't a question. Yes. You did the right thing. The women in Colorado and Nevada are grateful. They'll finally get some closure. I nodded. Your daughter will likely get a plea deal if she cooperates. Testifies against Reston. First offense, cooperating witness, she could be looking at probation and restitution rather than serious jail time. And him? He's looking at 10 to 15 years. We've got him cold on multiple counts across multiple states. I looked at the papers still spread across the table. All those signatures. All those lies. Can I ask you something? The ADA leaned forward. Why didn't you just confront her? Why go through all this? Because she needed to see the consequences, I said. If I just confronted her, she would have denied it. Would have said Marcus manipulated her. Would have cried and apologized and I would have forgiven her. And then Marcus would have moved on to the next victim. And Emily would have learned that she could betray the people who love her without real consequences. That's a hard lesson to teach. I'm her father. Hard lessons are part of the job. The Ada gathered her things. We'll be in touch. You'll need to give a formal statement. And we'll need you to testify at the trial. I'll be there. She left. I sat alone in the restaurant again. The coffee had gone cold. The papers lay scattered. Through the window, I could see Marcus in the back of one police car, Emily in another. My phone rang. Emily's lawyer, calling already. I let it go to voicemail. It rang again. My sister Maria. She'd find out soon enough. I'd call her later. It rang a third time. A known number. I answered. Mr. Rossetti? This is Jennifer Martinez. I'm calling from Colorado. The detectives there told me what happened today. I just wanted to say thank you. When he did this to me, I lost everything. My family's bakery, 23 years of work. And I couldn't prove it. He'd been so careful. But you got him. You actually got him. Her voice cracked. Thank you. Thank you for stopping him. Thank you for making sure he can't do this to anyone else. I'm sorry for what you went through, I said. I'm sorry for what you're going through. I know she's your daughter. That can't be easy. No, it's not. But you did the right thing. And maybe this will save her. Before she becomes like him. After we hung up, I sat in the silence for a long time. Maybe Jennifer was right. Maybe this would save Emily. Maybe hitting rock bottom would wake her up. Make her realize what she'd become. Or maybe it wouldn't. Maybe she'd blame me. Maybe she'd never forgive me. Maybe I'd just lost my daughter forever. But I'd also stopped a predator. Saved future victims. Given justice to past ones. And I'd taught Emily the lesson I should have taught her better a long time ago. That love doesn't mean letting people hurt you. That family doesn't mean accepting betrayal. That sometimes the hardest thing and the right thing are the same thing. I gathered up the papers. Put them in a folder for evidence. Locked up the restaurant. Drove home to my empty house. Tomorrow I'd call my lawyer. Start the process of getting Emily help. A good defense attorney. A therapist. Whatever she needed. But today, I'd done what I had to do. Even if it broke my heart. Because that's what fathers do.